Here. It's my second time back, and I apologize for being a little late to the call. Zoom and I were duking it out for a little while, but finally I won. So here I am, and I'm going to share my screen. So give me just 1 second. And when you see the big lion, then you'll know that the screen is working. Great. Can everyone see the big lion? Awesome. Well, again, Joyce gave me such a great introduction. Joyce and I know each other through She Leads, another great group. And again, my name is Heather Gallien. I operate an agency called Creo Marketing, which is in the Denver, Colorado area. And we're pretty full service. So we offer marketing strategy, a lot of content strategy, content creation, and social media strategy. Again, Joyce pretty much told you, but I've been around the marketing block for quite a while. I've worked for a lot of different companies and have founded several different marketing agencies, Creo being the latest one. And I don't monkey around when it comes to social media content that converts. So if your company is creating social media content with valuable information, but it's just not generating engagement, responses, DMs, clicks, that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about the root cause of that and what to do about it. So just by show of hands, how many of you in this group are somehow involved in shaping or creating social media content that your company posts? Right, quite a few. Give me 1 second. I'm going to expand my screen so I can see more faces here. Right. So when new clients start working with me, one of their biggest complaints is that they're posting on social, but again, their content is just not really getting conversions. And in digital marketing, a conversion is essentially when somebody views a social media post and they click on a link in the post to take an action, or they send a direct message to you to get more information. So a conversion could be when they click on a social media post to do something like sign up for your newsletter, sign up for a webinar, download a piece of content from your website, sign up for a free consultation, or something else. So a smart social media content strategy offers many different conversion options because you can get a single person to take multiple conversions that draw them closer and closer to being a paying customer. Now, sometimes a conversion could be an outright purchase of your product or service, which is great. But more often than not, a conversion, again, is a string of actions that they take that pull them one step closer to buying. So for example, conversion number one, they might click a link in a social post to sign up for your newsletter. Then a couple weeks later, conversion two, they click a link and take a webinar. And then finally, conversion three, they click a link in a social post and do a free consultation with you. And then they finally become a paying customer. So our goal in social media content is to increase the conversion rate of any social media post that has a link that gets them to take an action or that asks them to DM you for more information. And these are the three categories that most of our content falls into, right? So this is our marketing content, but this is the stuff that we link to in our social media posts. So number one, education and tools, right? This is the stuff like blogs, articles, newsletters, podcasts, white papers, free tools. This is the information that you're giving away. And what we're really doing in this category is, especially if you're a service provider like me, you're giving away your hard-earned knowledge and expertise in the hopes that by giving away that level of information, somebody will want to buy your product or service to get even deeper level expertise and information from you. Now, category two is product or services promotion. This is pretty straightforward. This is any content on your social media posts that promotes your product or service. So this could be posts about how your service works. It could be links to marketing brochures. It could be links that get them into a marketing funnel or into an email sequence. So this type of content is any content in your social media strategy that promotes your product or service. And then three is what I call credibility building. That is social proof. That's posting your 5-star reviews, client testimonials, endorsements, and things that build your company's credibility. That could be awards, your credentials, press coverage, or big news, like you moved into a new office or made an important hire. So, from my experience, most small businesses are generating about 2 types of content from each of the 3 categories, or about 6 types of marketing content on a regular basis. So again, just by show of hands, how many of you feel like the company that you're currently with or that you own is generating about 6 or so types of content on a regular basis? Okay. So in most cases, the thought that we immediately jump to is, well, goodness gracious, I've got to start producing more content. How many people here have had that thought? Like, I just got to start doing more. All right. Well, we're going to dig a little bit deeper today and see if that's really the solution. So when I see clients making common mistakes with their social content, the mistakes are usually across the entire spectrum of social content. And these are some of the common problems that all small businesses face with social content. One, comments, reshares, reactions, DMs, conversions are just generally low across the board. 2, social posts that have links to educational content, like your newsletters, blogs, white papers, again, they just don't seem to be generating response. 3, the posts that are meant to sell your product or service, posts that explain what you do, how you do it, what you're selling, you're trying to convince people that your product or service is valuable, but it seems like no one's listening. And 4, if you're using paid social ads, you've got ads running that have calls to action and clicks to create conversions, but you're just not getting, again, the conversion rate or the ad response you want. So how many folks here have experienced at least one of these issues with their social media content? Yep, they're pretty common issues. If you're not experiencing those issues, you're doing something right, so keep it up. But most small businesses are struggling with at least a couple of these, right? So then we try to fix our social content. And usually these are the ways that people try to do that. One is they change their copywriting because they think, gee, I guess I'm just not writing about my product or service in a way that's super compelling. I gotta keep being more convincing. Or number 2, you double down on your expertise. You give away more information. So you do more social media posts that link to more newsletters, blogs, eBooks, white papers. 3, you might suspect that your social channels aren't working or that they're not the right ones for you. So what I mean by that is maybe you're on Facebook and Instagram and you go, oh, geez, well, I guess I better switch to LinkedIn. Or you just decide you need to add a bunch more social platforms because you don't have enough. And 4 is you suspect that your creation medium isn't working. And what I mean by that is most of us who are counselors of some sort, especially in the service industry, we share information, we advise, we teach, we counsel. So you might be a writer and you might think, well, that doesn't seem to be working. So maybe I need to switch to making videos now, right? So these are some of the common ways we try to fix our content when it's not generating response. How many of you here have experienced one of these ways where you've tried to improve things? Anyone here? Okay. So typically what happens is we try a fix. But are these fixes generating so much improvement that your social content starts delivering the engagement, the leads, and the conversion rate that you want? If so, keep it up, because whatever you're doing is working. But for most small businesses, creating more content, adding more social platforms, giving away more educational information, or explaining your product or service better simply does not move the needle. So what we want to talk about today is the real reason why a lot of social media content doesn't work. And the real reason is simply that delivering education or explaining your product or service's value are not effective at creating engagement, leads, conversions, and sales. And this can be hard to accept because it goes against a lot of common marketing wisdom about content. These strategies did work better years ago, but they don't work as well today because today's audiences are savvier. they can get free information about any topic they want on the internet. And because we're so used to advertising, people aren't as easily swayed by convincing explanations about what makes your product or service so great. So the messaging in our social media content has to get savvier too, to meet the psychological demands of today's savvier prospects. So just as a reinforcer, most of us do educational content or sales content. That's content that promotes your product or service. And the reasons why these aren't as effective today are, one, lack of relevancy. In other words, the problems your audiences are experiencing don't seem to be related to the product or service you're selling. Two is lack of trust. You might be posting a lot of content, but you haven't established reasons for people to know, like, and trust and believe that your company can solve their problems. Three is internal resistance. If you're always giving away education and explaining things, you're kind of saying this is the right way to do something. And it's not a two-way conversation. So if somebody doesn't agree with you, you've now created this subconscious internal conflict that they have with you. Four is overwhelm. This is a big one. If you're posting tons of educational content all the time, you can make people doubt their capacity to be able to work with you. They might think, wow, your company's so big, your process is so complicated, you do so much, you offer so much, I don't know if I can handle working with your company. And five is no need to buy. Again, when you give away a lot of free information, people can think, hey, I got all the answers. I don't need to buy from you. You gave me so much information that now I can do the rest myself. Now, you know, you just gave them the tip of the iceberg, but that's sometimes what people can think, right? So these are some of the reasons why the common content that we use is not as effective as it used to be. And we have to look at what's the solution to these content dilemmas. So our solution is a messaging framework that converts. And we create this messaging framework to increase the conversion rates of your overall social media strategy and individual posts. So this framework is not about giving more information, it's really about creating transformation. And the framework becomes the foundation that underlies your current social media content and new content that you create in the future. So the 4 points on this slide, I don't have time today to delve into all of them, but I am going to talk about number 1, because that's really the secret sauce behind the framework. And this is identify the problems your audience is aware of. Doing this creates more relevancy because we know as experts the problems our product or service solves, but the problem is our audience may be dealing with different problems than the ones that we're speaking to. So I'm going to give you a little example of this because this is where an outside expert can help. It can take some time using your social platforms to test different messages and some strategizing to figure out what are the actual problems that my audiences deal with on a daily basis. So imagine that every time you're driving your car and it gets above 50 miles an hour, it starts shaking, right? You have no idea why it's shaking, but you want to fix it. Now, unbalanced tires are the most common culprit, but if you're like me, you don't know a lot about cars, so you don't know that, right? So you go online and you start looking at mechanics ads. And you see one that says, we'll balance your tires for $100. Now that seems like a pretty cheap deal, but because you don't know a lot about cars, you don't know if the shaking is caused by unbalanced tires or something else. So because this message doesn't solve the problem that you're aware of, you ignore the ad. Then another mechanics ad pops up. And this one says, does your car shake at high speeds? We'll fix it. So now you're clicking on the ad and you're figuring out how to make an appointment because this mechanic clearly understands your problem. You haven't even heard the price yet, but this is the ad that gets your attention and that you're going to click on because this ad is speaking to the problem at the level of awareness that you have about it. So this is an example of how most of our social media content jumps to offering a solution, which in this case with mechanic number 1 is tire balancing. But we have to learn that our audiences may not understand or have any awareness of how your solution is relevant to the actual problems that they're experiencing. So our customer-centric messaging framework pushes us to dig deeper and identify those actual problems that your customers are dealing with. One exercise that we do in this framework is called messaging bridge. So what this does is we identify one of those real problems that your audiences are dealing with, and we basically use messaging that creates a bridge that gets them, it shifts their perspective, creates that aha moment so that they understand that, oh, your product or service actually is the solution to this problem that they're experiencing over here. The messaging bridge is what bridges that gap and makes your solution relevant to the problem that they're really experiencing. And this is just a quick example because in my own life, I have to up-level my own messaging, right? So I run a messaging workshop, and it used to be titled Build Your Brand Message to Strengthen Your Brand, right? And the conversion rate for this old post, this social media post, was lower than I wanted. So I wasn't getting the webinar registrations I wanted. That was the conversion metric. So I changed the titling to Magnetize Your Messaging for More Leads and Sales. That's the new social media post. And that helped the conversion rate go up, which meant I got a higher level of webinar registrations. Now, the deal is, as a marketing expert, I know that by strengthening your brand, that can solve a lot of problems, including increasing the engagement in your social media content. But I had to take a step back and realize that as a small business owner, when you're sitting around contemplating your marketing, you're probably not thinking, oh, I need to strengthen my brand today, right? Most small business owners are thinking along the lines of, what do I need to do to get my marketing to generate more leads? What do I need to do to get more sales? How can I get my marketing to grow my business? So I had to take a step back and I have to retool my own messaging by going back and really getting clear on the actual marketing problems that my customers are dealing with on a day-to-day basis, even though they may not be the problems in the way that I think about them. So we create this messaging framework, which is basically a written reference guide that you use as the foundation behind your social media posting. And here's how it gets implemented in a very simplistic way. Let's go back to the categories of content, right? So remember along the top, the common ones are 1, education and tools, 2, services promotion, and 3, credibility building. And I added a 4th on the far right called transformation, right? So most companies will use at least 2 of these strategies. Strategy 1 is you keep your current education and sales content, categories 1 and 2, but you use the messaging framework as the underpinnings to infuse that content with new offer messages and headline hooks that are relevant to, again, the customers that your problems are really trying to solve, or the problems your customers are trying to solve. 2, you start to create new content. You start to create series of social media posts that are specifically aligned around each of the top problems that your customers are trying to solve. And 3, sometimes if you feel like the amount of content you're producing on social is overwhelming, we'll actually recommend that clients reduce the amount of content in categories 1 and 2, education and tools, and the services promotion content. Keep the pieces that are working really well. But if you feel like creating all this content is too much, sometimes we'll say we'll cut it back by 20 or 40%. And start to add some new transformational content from category number 4 on the far right. Now, the purpose of this category is to illuminate that path. Your customer starts as the struggling avatar, and by using your product or service, they move to the hero avatar in their own story. So transformational content's not telling them about your product or service or about how great you are. This content is painting the picture of them and the hero they're going to become and how their life is going to be better as a result of having worked with you. And there are many forms of content that you can create in this category. This could be sharing your own conversion story, which is how you use your own product, service, tools to up-level your own life. This can be hero stories about your customers. This can be TED-style talks that offer people insights that change their perspective. So this transformation category is big. There are a lot of ways to produce the content, but the point is getting that into your social. So your social stream is now not just about you, but about showing your customer in the hero position. And getting an outside expert like Creo Marketing or another content and messaging strategy agency can be really helpful, because sometimes getting clear about what your customer's actual problems really is, it can be a little challenging. It requires some objectivity. And sometimes when we work inside our own businesses, we're a little too close to it. So what we help clients do is shake up the status quo, right? So we ask the right questions, we have the right framework to have them consider bold new perspectives, see past their blind spots, shatter preconceived notions, achieve better clarity, and at the end of the day, improve their relevancy with their audiences. So the messaging framework that we use for content conversion includes a lot of different elements. This is one type of messaging framework that we develop. The other is foundational company brand messaging. That's a totally different topic. But this platform is specifically designed for content conversion. So this includes elements. It doesn't have things like mission, vision statements, that kind of stuff. That's in the company brand messaging. But this platform has things like names, external names that we use in your marketing for the struggling avatar, the person before they use your product or service, and the hero avatar, the transformational avatar they are after they work with you. We identify top customer problems. Again, that can take a little digging and testing. We create messaging bridges for each of those problems to your solution. We create offer messaging. So that's a specific messaging framework for your top offers or promotions. And hook headlines. There's an art nowadays to the right kind of headline that you will use in ads, video titles, email subject lines, and social media posts. Backup evidence. This is sort of a library of things like success stories, metaphors, analogies, statistics, a library of things that give evidence to why your product or service works. And then finally, to help with social media optimization, keywords and hashtags that you can use in your posting. So it's a big framework, has a lot of stuff in it. And then we teach clients, again, how to retroactively apply that to their current social media content and create new social media content that's transformational. So that's really it for today. There are a lot of great ways that you can get the content on your social media to generate more engagement, get you more leads, increase your conversion rate, because at the end of the day, we don't just want to be posting, all right? There's a great saying that posting every day is not a social media strategy. Posting every day is not useful unless you're getting people to click on something and take an action that brings them closer to working with you. And these are some ways that you can engage with Creo Marketing if you want to dig a little bit deeper into looking at your own content or social media strategy. We basically do some reviewing, auditing, and start letting you know what you can do to fill in the gaps. So, any questions or comments that people want to share about maybe what's worked as far as a social media post that got a really high conversion rate?
Oops.
Yeah, Joyce.
My hand down. Sorry, I've had that up the whole time, haven't I?
Oh,
Lower.
you're fine.
I'm
Yeah, you're
sorry.
good.
I was trying to figure out how to do that when I had you on the other screen.
Yeah.
To what extent do you use or advise the use of AI tools like ChatGPT and others to give you some ideas? You know, because by being full transparency, the last time, this is not a social post precisely, but it was a redo of my own LinkedIn, my
Yeah.
about section, my experience position description for my business, my company page about section. So I got some really interesting, not always did I agree with them, rewrites from ChatGPT.
Yeah. I think that AI ChatGPT is a great tool. I use it quite a bit in writing. I use it kind of as a thesaurus, like what are other ways to say this or say that. So I'm all for it because it helps us get beyond our own thinking. It gives us new ideas.
Yeah.
What I'm not for is cutting and pasting something that you got from ChatGPT and
Mhm.
using it as your own content. Because at some point the algorithms are going to be sophisticated enough that you're going to be caught if you're just cutting and pasting from AI sources. And it's really not you. It's not authentic to your brand and who you are. So I'm 100% for using AI tools to generate writing content or even graphic content. But you always, in my opinion, want to take what you get from AI and you want to customize it. You want to make it your own so that it's really a true and authentic representation of your brand. I would never take anything from any AI tool and just use it verbatim.
That's helpful. Thank you. Other questions or comments?
Yeah,
Yeah, go ahead,
Catherine,
Catherine.
you're on
Yeah,
mute.
just yeah, you're yeah.
There you go.
Hit the wrong button there.
No worries.
So, Heather, I am like so over the social media thing itself because I've taken another couple of seminars, kind of like in this forum.
Mhm.
One was very, a great deal of the program was about giving away the free content, with the thought being, look how much I've given for free. Well, that must mean that, she's saving the best for, saving more better things, which is itself the hook. And I've
Mhm.
gotten absolutely zero response from it. The same with some of the other strategies to increase my email list, or even getting my Instagram post to even reach everybody who follows me. And so I feel like what you've explained. First of all, I like it because it's going in another direction somewhat, but then it's very confusing because of I know a lot of people are doing what I'm doing because I see the same kind of thing.
Mhm.
So is this I don't know. I think that you can tell from my question I'm pretty frustrated, but
Yep.
it's hard to know which road to follow, I guess is what I'm saying.
Yeah. Oh, it looks like my video froze. Can you still hear my voice?
Yes.
Oh, there I am. Okay, good. Yeah, sorry, I had to replug my computer in there. Yeah, it is confusing. And what you have been taught is what's still being taught in content marketing, which is if you just keep giving away stuff for free and
Mm,
sharing more information, people are going to think that you're so wonderful. You have all this knowledge, and they're going to want to keep learning more from you.
yeah.
It just doesn't work that way anymore. I mean, I'm not saying that that kind of content never works, so don't get me wrong, but
Yeah.
I'm saying that everybody's giving away their knowledge for free. And the whole point is at the end of the day, what is more compelling to people is not telling them what you do or how to do it or giving them advice. It's showing them the future that they want to move into. So it's getting away from giving away our information, which I'm guilty of myself. I've done a lot of long newsletters and all kinds of free information, and really focusing more on creating content. And in a lot of ways, this is simpler because you're not writing a long white paper about topic XYZ. Your job as the face of the company becomes to shift perspectives, to share with people what's possible, and not focus so much on the information that can help them get there or the tactical steps that they need to take. They will hire you for the information and the tactical steps, but we need to start focusing more again on showing them a path to transformation. And that's a lot different than giving them information or tools. And then
Right.
again, there are a lot of ways to show that transformation. So there's not a one size fits all. It's not just a video or just a this or that. But there are a lot of ways to do it. So that's my recommendation is move away from giving so much of the free stuff because that's
Mhm.
the problem, people. If that was working, all of our content would be working better. It
Right.
just doesn't work that well anymore.
So if I could ask another question,
Sure.
um, if you are shifting that focus to to their future, to a better future for them, do you, okay, where was my question going? You do that, um, how do you do that? Do you do that through asking questions? Do you do, like you want that hook? So let's say it's an Instagram post, you
Mhm.
have so much space and then they're flipping through and you want to catch them really quick. So is that
Mhm.
what do you come up with a catchy phrase or a catchy question? Um,
Yep.
okay.
That's where what I call hook headlines and offer messaging is important, because the right offer messaging, if you have an offer, or the right hook headline is what gets their attention. Now, the underpinnings of those things are that those hook headlines are based on understanding what problems they're really dealing with. Back to the car example, right?
Hmm.
If I just say I'm going to balance your tires, but you don't know that balancing your tires is a problem, you're not going to click on my ad. So I have to know that what are the things that can make a car shake? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I have to address that. So how do you get there? The big question is, how do you understand what your customers' problems really are if you're not quite dialed in? And that's where it does take a little work. So this is not a one and done. There's no silver bullet to anything in marketing.
You're
But
right.
one of the ways that you get to that is as part of the social media process. We identify, let's say, your customer's top 5 actual problems they're dealing with. And
Hmm.
then we come up with hook headlines for posts, 5 different posts with 5 different headlines that address those 5 different problems. And then we run content with that addresses those 5 different problems for, let's say, a couple months. And we see which problems are getting the best response. So we
Hmm.
actually test a lot of messages with social media, which is social media is a great tool for that, to say, okay, we think these are your customers' top 5 problems, but let's put messages out there with headlines that address those 5 problems, let them fly for a while, and then see which of those posts gets the best response. Now we're starting to gather data from actual people that are
Yeah.
telling us, oh, it's problems 2 and 4 that people are really responding to. So
Yeah.
now that we're gathering a little bit of evidence by testing for a little while, now we're going to start creating our core conversion messaging around those 2 problems, because we know those are the 2 biggest problems that people are responding to. Does that make sense?
Or before you go on, Heather, Michelle had asked, and this is because you came on with the Zoom issues. Can you please put your contact information into the chat
Yep,
as we're wrapping up here? That would help a lot. And
absolutely.
any links to any offers. Also, and Heather, I think we talked about this before, but it's okay for me to share the slide deck that you used today. Is that something you'll write with, or if that's more proprietary information? If not, I completely understand.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I'll send you after this call the PDF version, which you'll be able
That's
to
perfect.
fill out.
PDF of the deck is perfect. And
Yep,
then, folks, what I have is I believe I have all your emails from when you registered for the Zoom meeting. If not, if you don't think I have your email, you hopefully have mine, from it should be on the like the meetup announcement and such. And then what I do is I convert this recording we're doing now, which I think I can end probably safely.